Hi, my name is Sherwin Watson, aka the Setback Strategist. And I get asked a lot, how did I get to where I am today? And I don't have your typical rags to riches story, but I do have a story. I was diagnosed with a learning disability. I was a jack of all trades, the master of nothing. I was in special ed from the first grade all the way through 11th grade. I was going from job to job to job for a long time trying to find fulfillment. I worked 8 jobs in 6 years. 8 jobs in 6 years. I remember going through unemployment. I had gotten fired from 2 jobs in a 12-month span. And I just remember during that time of unemployment how my faith in God really started to strengthen. Because for the first time in my life, something that I value was taken away, and that was a job, because I'd always been used to having a job, whether it was working 2 jobs, whether it was working 3 jobs. I always had a job, and so for the first time in my life, I had something that was taken away, and I wasn't making any money. I wasn't bringing any money in. So at that time, I had to do a lot of praying to God. I had to get into a lot of prayer groups. I had to do what I could, because this was a very uncomfortable position for me. And so I remember there were many days where I was up all day sending out resumes and applying after job after job after job. And it was times where I was driving almost an hour out of my area for a 10-minute interview. And during this process, I went to a lot of jobs that were not as advertised. I went to some jobs that said one thing on the internet, but then you find out that they're commission only, or you find out something else that you didn't like. So I went through a lot of those jobs. I went through jobs that barely paid you minimum wage. I had some job interviews where I felt in my mind that I was a great fit. They told me, I had a great resume, I had great experience, and they said if they saw something that they liked, they'll call me. And so I remember many times driving back home after a long drive to the interview, driving back home feeling optimistic, feeling good about myself, and then I go home and I get a call or an email saying, we enjoyed you, but you're not the fit that we're looking for. And I remember for a long time, I remember getting about 100, maybe 200, 300 no's and rejections from jobs. And, for a while when this was happening, I'm like, okay, what is going on? Here I am, 26, 27 years old. I'm living at home with my parents. I have no money. I have a dream, but I don't have the resources to fund the dream that God has put inside of me. And I'm like, why me? How do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? And I remember just continue to pray to God every day. I remember just continue to keep going out there. And I think it probably was about 6 months later, maybe, I got called for a job that honestly I forgot I even applied to, because I was applying to so many jobs. And this job told me, asked me if I can come in for an interview. So I went in for an interview. They was very, very impressed with my resume. But for me, I was excited, but I couldn't get too excited because I had this same thing going on, the same thing that other jobs were telling me. So when they told me I did a great job, I went home and said, okay, let me start applying for some more jobs. And I didn't hear from them for about 2 weeks, and then about 2 weeks later, they called me back and said, we were really impressed with you on your first interview. Can you come out for a second interview? I'm like, okay, wow, okay, so this is the first going for a second round interview. And so I go to this interview, and the guy tells me, if you do really good reading the script and we like you, we're gonna bring you in, and we're gonna hire you. So I go in there, I do my very best with the script and everything like that, and I wait, and I actually get called for another interview, because I had to have a backup, and so I go to this other interview, and I go to this job, and I'm like, what, this is not the job I'm gonna like. I'm out there working out there in the cold, I'm outdoors, and these people are doing some of the things that I really do not like. And so my thing was, I'm just praying to God that I didn't have to work this job. I'm praying to God that this company that I read the script for calls me back. Well, later on that evening, the guy calls me back, and I end up getting the job. So, that's my testimony as far as my journey of how I got to where I am today. As a motivational speaker, as an author, I had to go through the trials and tribulations, and by me going through trials and tribulations, it has allowed me to get a strong relationship with God, but it's also allowed me to have the tools I need to be able to help other people along the way. Because now when someone else is dealing with unemployment, I'm able to help them. I'm able to teach them how to win during unemployment. When people are going through the part where they're going from job to job, I can help them to get organized and try to figure out what it is that they want. So it is a blessing for the trials that I went through, and I just thank God for every single trial, every single door, every single rejection that I went through during that season. So I just wanted to share my story with you all, and I just wanted to say God bless you. And this is the Setback Strategist sign off. I want to say thank you and God bless.